Hi everyone, I wanted to have a look at DIY wills today. I was really interested. I was in the post office and I saw this. So for £1.99, you can make your last will and testament. I've seen a couple of these sorts of things, so I was really interested. I thought, well, I'll spend the £1.99 and see what's in it. So actually I'm going to open it up and let's have a look at see what's actually in it, and how effective or not it might be. So you get a nice envelope, you get a barcode. Don't know what the barcode actually does. So we open it up and it says the will of, has room for your name and the date, and it's got some address of the company who printed it, I suppose. On the back, it has some guidance notes, and it gives you an example of how the will should be drawn up. I'm not very good at putting this towards the camera, but that's what it does. So inside, what does it do? Oh, it also gives you some notes to be careful of whilst drafting your will. So it talks about this is a person, anybody with mental capacity over the age of 18 can make a will. You need to write it clearly. You need to put as few words as possible. It gives you some advice about jointly owned properties, but lots of people that I know don't know how they own a property because it says if you own it as joint tenants. So the vast majority of people don't actually know whether they do or not. Talks about life insurance policy and pension death benefits might pass outside your will, but again, unless you've checked, how do you know whether it may or may not? So talks about what an executor is, and a little bit, a few more. I mean, it's a lot of words, but I haven't read it all, but anyway, there we go. So what does it do? So inside, let's have a look inside. So it says, hang on a minute, I'm going to have a look at this. I'm going to try and read it backwards, actually. This is the last will and testament of me. So that's where you put your name, you put your address. You don't have to put your date of birth, actually. So it's made, so you could be John Smith of 1 The Green, whatever it is, and then you move. And how do they know whether that's still the same John Smith? So that's just 1 point. Made this day of whatever in the year of, so obviously you date it. I revoke all former wills, codicils, other testamentary instruments made by me and declare this to be my last will. And then it asks you to appoint executors. So you've got room for 2 executors on there. Good idea, actually, because just having 1 is not a great idea. What happens if something happens to that person? But I've seen many with just 1. It just says here, I give the remainder of my estate to my executors on trust to pay my debts, taxes and testamentary expenses and leave the residue to, and there is this small piece here. And then it says, if necessary, use the next page, strike it through and sign the other page. So in this small area, oh, and then it asks you to sign it, signed by the testator, in our presence and then by us in hers. So it does ask for the name and occupation of the 2 witnesses. So, you know, when you fill this in, it tells you to go and get 2 witnesses. So brilliant, straightforward, really, really straightforward. Some of the challenges with it being so straightforward are, so first of all, if you're a parent, there's nowhere to name guardians. So if you don't name a legal guardian and both of you are not around, then the law decides, or actually social services decide, who's going to look after your children. That's the first big problem with this. The other, I give the remainder of my estate and leave the residue to. So I've seen lots of people who've just put 1 person on there, or you might say my children. So one of the big problems is, and I'm reading this because it actually does say here, it says, if one of your beneficiaries, so that's the people you're leaving it to, should die before you, then the gift to that beneficiary will fail, i.e. it won't take effect. The subject matter of the gift will then pass as part of the residuary estate to your benefit, to your other beneficiaries. So what happens if you've only put 1 person in here? I had exactly that situation with an older couple who had named each other as sole executor and sole beneficiary. So one of them died and the other one was already in care. So first of all, the person who was in care couldn't act as the executor. And secondly, if everything goes to him, which it will, it's now going to go and pay his care fees. So there were no substitutes. So that's the first thing. So in there, it doesn't even tell you to say, then what happens? So let's say, for example, you say, I'm going to leave that to my spouse. Yeah, then normally you would say, and then to my children, and perhaps even to my children's children. But there's nothing on here to guide you to say that. And actually, what it also means is that let's say you're a single mum with 2 children and you've got some grandchildren. So if something happens, if you just put your 2 children in there, something happens to one of them, your other child is going to get everything. Your grandchildren from your recently deceased child aren't going to get anything. Because what it actually says is, if one person can't have it, then it's just going to be shared against anybody else that's named. So that's probably the biggest challenge that you're going to have with doing a DIY will. So hopefully in the last few minutes, you can see that that £1.99 will is probably not even worth £1.99. If you're a parent, it definitely isn't. If you have more than one benefit and you're not taking advice, because this doesn't tell you, it actually doesn't tell you what to do. Yeah, it doesn't tell you to name some substitutes. So £1.99, you may as well not even bother. Come and spend a little bit more time, an hour of your time. Yeah, we will come and see you. We will talk you through what's actually needed, and we will make you a proper will. Now, I'm tempted to just rip this up. I'm not, because I'm going to actually go and leave it and put it maybe in a box somewhere to have a look at it again in a future date. But advice, do not DIY it. Come and talk to us and take proper advice. Thank you.